Hello everyone, I am glad to have all of you joining today's webinar on UniPlot automation module, the sequencer. My name is Adrien Lavaux, Product Manager for UniPlot, and will be your guide through this journey. After a reminder on UniPlot and a quick introduction on what is the sequencer, we will see why UniPlot team felt the need for it. In a third step, we discover how data management is made easier, and finally we will go through two examples: a test center automation, and the Internet of Things applied to a solar panel powered house. Let's start with UniPlot. If you are a UniPlot user, you know this is the tool you need to analyze your data. It has been evolving over decades to reach today's solution based on 4 core pillars. It is meant for the analysis of dynamic or static test data with an incredible degree of plot customization. UniPlot makes professional report out of your data analysis. It also comes with a coding module called Uniscript, where you can write your own functions and also adapt UniPlot's behavior to your needs. But that's not all, as we will see today. Whether you are a hardcore UniPlot user or just started making your first plots, I want to show you the benefits of the sequencer for your daily work. First things first, what is the sequencer? When working with data automation systems, reports, etc., you will surely repeat tasks manually, like open a report template, open a data file, replace the data in the template, plot it, and even export it to PDF. This is what UniPlot calls a workflow, a sequence of actions. Now, what if you want to repeat that? Well, we can do it manually, using Uniscript, or using the sequencer, and I'll try to show you why you should use the sequencer. Let's go to UniPlot and dive in some examples. The script you can see covers most of the topics I've mentioned up to now. Creating a message box, opening a template, fetching some data and converting it for UniPlot to read it, prepare a data exchange so that the data can be placed in the template, execute the data exchange, and export to PDF with some message box and questions. Well, you can see that you have to know about Uniscript to do that. You need to know the functions. If you follow my Uniscript introduction tutorial, you can learn how to do that, but I will show you how to do that with the sequencer. Well, it all starts by finding the sequencer. At the moment, it's available on the right. If you do not find it on your screen, you can go to View and activate sequencer. If you don't want to see it when you work, you can hide it, as usual with UniPlot menu, and then lock it. What you see for the moment is the example for the rest of the presentation, but right now we are going to create a new workspace. I'm going to call it my first sequencer. When you create it, a workspace is going to be created, which is a folder that will hold all your resources. I usually place them in the UniPlot directory sequencer workspace, so I select the folder. And the workspace is being created, but it's empty. If I click on the small icon here, Open Workspace Folder, it will open this folder where you have to put all the resources you want to work with. The idea of working with this kind of folder is that then afterward you can share it with anyone and make it available for use on other computer without any compatibility problem. I will place a few documents that I will use for this presentation. So, a layout and some random data that I'm going to plot. So, we have our workspace, our resources. We are now going to start creating the actual sequence of events. But let's get familiar with our sequencer. First, we have the workspace, which holds sequences. You will have a list here. Below, you will have the description of each sequence that is selected in the workspace. And in the sequence, you will have a list of actions that can be defined in the action field. Let's see that in detail. I create a sequence. I call it my sequence. I click on it, it's empty. I will add actions in the sequence. Which one? Well, as I said, I want to reproduce the code on the left. So a message box. I click on Action and select Show Message. Let's add some text. Hello, this is our first sequence. And let's put a little icon on it. After that, we want to open a template. So I'm going to click on Action, Load Document. Here we can see that I have some red flag because I need to indicate which document I want to open. So I will browse and I will ask UniPlot to open the basic layout. It's green, everything is fine. After opening a template, we want a dialog box to get some data. Let's add that. We go to Action, Browse for File. It's green, everything alright. Just one detail. If we go to the end of the action definition, we can see that the file we select, the path will be saved to data file path. I will add another action to now load the data. Oh, it's red. Why? Because we need to say to UniPlot, this is the file I want to load. Here you have three options, as in most of the actions. Either it's an information that is available in the workspace, you give an absolute path, or you use runtime value. Runtime value are the secret behind the sequencer. They are internal variables that can exchange information between actions or with other automation systems. In this case, I'm gonna click on RV and paste the data file path that I took from here. So I remind you, we store the file path into data file path. So now data load action is gonna load the data file path information into the sequencer. Once the data has been loaded, I can now tell UniPlot, please take this data and load it in the basic layout. To do that, I use the data exchange action. You can see it's directly green, so there is nothing to do here. And then I can ask to export to PDF. Here I have reproduced all the code on the left in a few set of actions. I will click on Play now to see it in action. Message box, as in my code. Template is loaded. I'm requested for the data. The data is being exchanged and the PDF created. You can see how quickly, with just a few actions easily set up, I can reproduce all those lines of code. But now, how do we go further with just simple clicks? Look, PDF export, I decide to unselect it. I will close this and click play. Message box, template loaded, data selected, data exchange, no PDF export. You see how quickly I can activate or deactivate a function. Let's go back to the slide. I think the answer to why did we introduce the sequencer is now pretty clear. It is here for you to lay down those actions in a visual and interactive workflow. Let's sum up. Easy interaction for automation, creation of a standalone and so easy to share evaluation, and multi-level interaction depending on user assignment. Let's come back to our example to analyze the multi-level usage. Level 1. You work at the test bench, no time to dig in, just click play as we saw. Level 2. You want to make it more interactive for your colleagues, so you can add a condition. Let's see how this impacts level 1. I close the template. In my code example, I have a message box which asks me whether I want to export the PDF or not. Well, let's do it here. I click on Action, Show Message. I put it before, and I will ask a question. Do you want to export to PDF? And you can set up actions on the buttons. So if I click on OK on the first button, I will set a runtime value PDF export. I will set it to 1. And if I click on the second button, which I will call no, I will set the runtime value and set it to 0. So you see how you can set up your message box and do different things based on the button you click. And now I will activate my PDF export, but by clicking on the little gear, I will add a condition to it. And I will run only if the runtime variable PDF export equals to 1. You can see the little purple indicator that says that there is a condition on that one. Let's run the whole thing again. Message box. Template is loaded, I select the data, it's exchanged, and now do I want to export to PDF? Yes, and the PDF is created. Let's restart. Same thing. Now I select no, and as expected, nothing happens. You see how easily conditions can help you guide you through your workflow to select one action or another depending on the user input. Conditions are not the only setting you can add to an action. You can also repeat them several times using the loop part. I will show you an example in the rest of the presentation. So, level 1, you are a regular user, you just click on play and interact with the workflow as it was prepared by the level 2 user who played with condition, loops, message box. And finally, level 3, add script to the sequencer. And then you can do whatever you want and you were doing before in UniPlot, but without caring about the workflow organization, because the sequencer will take care about it. And we're going to see several examples today. Let's go back to the presentation. The first example will be about file synchronization for data management. We will use the sequencer to repeat a task several times that we would usually do manually with UniPlot. And then after that, we will see two use cases. Let's go back to UniPlot to check the first example. To prepare this webinar, I created a workspace dedicated to those examples to properly order all the information. I will save this one just in case. Close that and that. Now, you see that I've created several sequences. First, I have the workspace as before. If I open the folder, I usually organize the information between scripts, layout. Sometimes I have a data folder. Here you do whatever you want. It's free, but try to keep as many things inside this folder as I explained. This is the good way then to be able to share the sequencer with colleagues. My first example will be about what I call multi-synchronization. Here I have placed my 3 tests inside 3 different sequences. To show you, if I run that, I have this small message box which asks me which demo I want to run. I will click on one and run it. I will do that afterward. I go to the multi-synchronization where you will see 2 elements. First, a browse for file we can already see. By the way, you can double click on an action to execute it independently of the whole sequence. So here you can see that the window opens and I can select data. Then I have another sequence which is called multi-synchronization sub for subsequence. We can see here on the top. Let's see what happens here. So I will load an IPZ, then run some scripts, load some data, run some data exchange, synchronize file, which is the latest action that has been added in UniPlot. You can select it this way. You go to synchronize file. Let's see how it works. You select a base file with the synchronization channel, a synchronization file with a synchronization channel, and run it. And UniPlot will automatically find the delay between the 2 files and create a new one which is synchronized. Now, what do I do here? My idea was to do something I can normally do with UniPlot but several times. And this is what I will do. When I select the files, I will select several of them and then UniPlot will step by step synchronize them. A quick look at the data. Here, for each file, for each DAT file, I have an XLSX, which is part of the file but delayed. So there is a delay between those two files, then a delay between those two files, etc. And I want to synchronize all that. So I go back to my main demo, I run it, I select one, I select, let's say, 5-6 files, and now UniPlot is synchronizing them and generating a PDF for each of them. Let's wait for it to finish. And we can see the 6 PDF and check that they are all properly generated and synchronized. In this example, I have the green line, which was the non-synchronized file, which has been converted into the red line. You see how with a few actions, I'm able to quickly repeat an action I would otherwise have to do manually, and this way you can do it at the end of every test automatically. After this example of using a UniPlot function into the sequencer, it's time to start with our first use case. Let's say we have an automation system that generates data, like this one. What we want is this system to call UniPlot and execute a sequence automatically, and if possible to pass parameters. For example, the path of the newly generated file to create a report out of them. That can be done via the command line as shown on the slide. Here, the automation system will call uniplot.exe, a workspace, here webinar sequencer, test processing, and pass a parameter, a runtime value, here the list of files that have been generated. In this case, the sequence is the following. We receive the list of files and format it to show it in a message box. The message box is here, and we use a field function to read the message. We can then load it in the data slot using a loop, as we saw earlier, and we can even send an email. And then we shut down UniPlot once it has done the work, for example, report generation. For the purpose of the demonstration, I have set up an automation system and configured it such as when the files are generated in the new test folder, it calls UniPlot and the sequencer. Let's see what happens. I drop a few files. UniPlot is called. I get a message box with the files that have been dropped here, thanks to the message box. Then they are loaded, and UniPlot is switched off. And if we wait, I will get the notification. Pretty simple, no? And it can work from any software capable of running a command line such as, of course, Morphe, but also Virtual Dynamics, or even Simulink, and much more. If you need support to set up your test center, as always, contact us at support@uniplot.com. Talking about Simulink, I will show you a real-life example of how to connect Simulink and UniPlot. I'll now go to UniPlot and Simulink. So, on the left, we have an example of Simulink implementation, one that comes with the software, by the way. And on the right, UniPlot and a sequence I have prepared for the occasion. You are now familiar with sequences, and we can see that this one will first load data, then we load some script, load a template. Let's see how it looks like, by the way. Here it is, with a picture of the model, and then a graph with 3 channels. Then a message box, 2 actions with conditions, a script to save the documentation, a PDF export, and finally we shut down UniPlot. So let's see how this works. I have my model and a vehicle model there with some base parameters. Well, I'm gonna run it. a message box appear on the other screen, which asks the name of the file. I'm going to call it base model, for example. I click on OK, and then UniPlot is called. The template will be opened. I exchange the data, and a PDF is created with the information I needed. Now let's close that, and let's modify a little bit the vehicle. So for the drag friction, I'm going to put 100. I apply, OK, run it. Message box, I'm going to call it new drag. The template is open. This time I will add a new run. So we can see a second file has been added with the legend being updated. And okay, let's do a third one. I will change the aerodynamic drag. Let's put it to 0.1. Let's call it opti2. Okay. And UniPlot is called another time. With my data, I add a new run. And now I have a clean PDF with a record of all my tests and results that I can share with colleagues or management. Now let's go back to the presentation. I hope that with these examples I have shown you the importance of using the sequencer to link your automation system or simulation software to leverage properly the power of UniPlot. In my next use case, I want to show you that UniPlot and the sequencer are made to help you in any kind of project as no other software would do. That you can focus on what to do with the data instead of how to get it. We are focusing on a house, mine in this case, where a set of solar panels generating electricity have been installed. This electricity is sent to the grid or directly used. And to understand all the exchange of energy between the panel, the house and the grid, well, the inverter, in charge of converting solar DC current to usable AC current, sends the information to the cloud. And as I want to run my own analysis, I will use UniPlot to connect to this data stored on the web via a script. As explained earlier, the user focuses on its complex script, in this case connecting to the web server, and the sequencer will focus on helping you make a user interactive workflow. Let's see how I have done that here. We come back to our webinar sequence into the solar subsequence. Let's see what's happening in here. Well, we have a load script action, which will preload all the script I will need during the execution of the sequence. Two interesting ones. One is handling the discussion with the web server, and the other one is here to convert the data we receive from the web server to something UniPlot can read. Then, as I told you, the sequencer is in charge of handling discussion with your user, so we will display a message box. Why? Well, because as we're going to analyze data from the solar panel, we need to know from when we want to do the analysis. So I'm going to ask the question to the user and store the information in a runtime value called rvdate that I will be able to use afterward in my script. And it comes quick because it's this one. When I open it, you can see that I get a runtime value called rvdate, which was stored here. I call my script with this date, and then I will get back some file information that I will store in rvdata, another runtime value. And if I go to my next script, I can see that I will create a document, store that in another runtime value, and then load some data. Which data am I gonna load? Well, we can see I do a loop on rvdata, which is all the data I got from my script, and step by step load the data name in rvdata path. And if I go here, I'm loading the data, loading a template, exchanging, adding page, etc. to create step by step a template that will hold all the data. And at the end, I'm loading a full template that will hold all the data to make some interesting analysis on the several months of data I have. So let's see how it runs. I go to the beginning to show you that, and I will click on play. I want to run the solar powered house demo. I click on 3. Starting data, as I told you, so 2024 0607, which is the date of installation of the solar panel, and click on OK. And now step by step, we are going to fetch the data from the web server, store it, takes a few seconds, but it should be done pretty quickly. And now we start to see our data being loaded in the templates. That should also be pretty quick. And finally, we are loading all the data in the page to be able to do global comparison. I'm gonna come back on the other template, but just here, for example, one interesting analysis we can do is the peak power of each day since the installation. And normally, as the year goes, we should see it decreasing. And here on the lower part, we can see production, consumption, and what has been consumed from the panels. Let's go. And we can check another daily behavior with the famous waterfall diagram from UniPlot, where we can see daily production and the evolution along the year. And also we should see it getting thinner because we produce later and stop producing earlier as the year goes by. Now let's open this template and I can see all the pages that have been built. Let's see that in the file list. Okay, and I can navigate and see production day, maybe a cloudy day, and all the information I want that was gathered from the web server. So another example on how to handle the sequencer, add your scripts, add user interaction, use the sequencer to easily create templates, and in the end you can focus on your data. Let's go back to the general template and see that maybe I was on holiday during this period, and we can see that the consumption is much lower, that the air conditioning was installed mid-July, started to work, holiday, then I had some family over with higher consumption and then they left. That's the power of data analysis with the sequencer. And let's go back to the presentation. Before our question and answer session, I would like to share with you a feature that is being cooked by the sequencer team. We call it, for the moment, the quick report. It will be available as a new action and offer you the possibility to set up a whole report until the last detail directly inside the sequencer. We work on this feature to allow you for quick and clean report creation, automation of page duplication into a workflow, and seamless template update. How does it work? Here you have the example where the action is placed here in the sequence, and you can manually add some sheet layout that you take by clicking on the little plus here and add either one diagram, two diagram, etc. From the data browser, you drag and drop your channels, and then either globally or on the page level, you can set up information like font color, font size, line thickness, whatever parameter you could think about. And by doing that, by running the action, you will rebuild the whole template every time. Why did we do that? First, quick and clean report creation. Well, with UniPlot you can quickly create a diagram manually, but standardization over a tenth of page can be a bit tricky. Automation of page duplication into a workflow. Well, when duplicating a page in UniPlot, if you want to update a diagram in several pages, it has to be coded. With this new action, it is a problem of the past. And seamless template update. Well, imagine you want to bring an update like company color of the fonts used or change the axis thickness in all your diagrams. It can be done in a click with a quick report. If you want to know when this quick report action will be released, you can follow us on LinkedIn or check our website regularly to know about it. Thanks for watching us. For any question, contact us at support@uniplot.com. Come and check our website www.uniplot.com and click on the logo to follow us on LinkedIn and get fresh news of UniPlot.